Although we have shown in almost every single chapter of this series the innumerable falsehoods, contradictions, errors, and lies in Muhammad's Quran, we still receive feedback from both unbelievers as well as believers who doubt the magnitude of what we have been relaying. Will you expand on your explanations so that they will have very little doubt about the truthfulness of your statements?
As I have mentioned in several earlier chapters, and must repeat this here again, that it is entirely by divine justice that the very Ahadith that explain the meaning of the verses of Muhammad's Quran are the very same that destroy the validity, the veracity, and the alleged divine origin of the Quran, as I shall now proceed to show. Hadiths mean traditions, plural Ahadith, are the alleged deeds, actions, and conversations that Muhammad had with his wives, companions, and intimate friends regarding the meaning of words, ideas, precepts, and verses that were not clear to his followers. The Hadith collections are the most important source of the Sunnah, Muhammad's example. That is, the established model of Muhammad's alleged words and deeds, which the believers must follow. The most revealing book about the biography of Muhammad is Sirat Rasulullah by Muhammad ibn Ishaq, written within 150 years from his death, which represents the accounts of the life, sayings, and deeds of Muhammad. Although the original book is not available, most of it is quoted in the abridged and sanitized version of Ibn Hisham and the more truthful one by Al-Tabari's history. These three books with Bukhari and Muslim hadiths represent the very foundations of Muhammadan Islam, without which the Quran would be unintelligible gibberish. As the hadith literature grew exponentially, it became evident that strict rules and regulations had to be implemented to separate what was fact from fiction. Memories of individuals, even of the same event, are rarely consistent, especially since memory is extremely subjective. Some may remember better than others. Some will remember one or more aspects of an event better or more vividly than others. The earliest collection of hadiths date from 150 to 200 years after the death of Muhammad. This vast accumulation of genuine, partly true, and totally spurious traditions were assimilated, digested, and put together in a collection of books called Ahadith, of which 6 are considered canonical. Sahih al-Bukhari, depending on which source one can rely on, he allegedly collected between 300,000 to 600,000 hadiths, of which he transmitted 2,602 as genuine and 9,082 with repetitions. Sahih Muslim, out of 300,000 ahadith, which he evaluated, only 4,000 approximately were extracted for inclusion into his collection based on stringent acceptance criteria. Sunan Ibn Majah, Sunan Abu Dawood, from which 50,000 ahadith, he chose 4,800 for inclusion in his work based upon their superior authenticity. Jama' al-Tirmidhi, Sunan al-Nasi. There are many hadith reports that contradict each other, making it clear that a lot of them cannot be depended upon as being truthful, because they were fabricated to suit a sect, a theological position, or to prove a legal point. Believers and unbelievers, the figures mentioned above that are based entirely upon the Muhammadan records themselves, represent an astronomical number of forgeries wherein the level of veracity is less than 1%. Since the Quran contains scant details of many of the duties of the believers, such as prayers, pilgrimage, fasting, alms, business interests, etc., it fell to the hadiths to fill this void by providing the details. In this manner, it regulates the life of a Muhammadan. Not all Muhammadan Muslims believe in the hadith, nor is there a single hadith to follow. From the beginnings of Muhammadan Islam, the Sunnis and Shiites have different collections of hadiths to which they relate as suits their agenda, but they invariably accept those that glorify Muhammad and reject those that discredit him. Orthodox Muhammadans allege that these hadiths were divinely inspired and hence are equal to the Quran. These spurious claims and assertions are, as usual, not supported by the historical records, since had the Quran and Hadith been of equal importance, then Muhammad's companions would have had his sayings meticulously written down, which of course is not the case. None of the caliphs who followed him nor his companions deemed it necessary to do so. Unlike in the case of the Quran, which was written in the days of the first Khalifa Abu Bakr after Muhammad's death. It is a fact that the Quran does not contain any ruling that the Ahadith must be followed. Since Muhammad was only an ordinary man, albeit with a mission allegedly from Allah, then only his acts and utterances that are compatible with the Quran should be followed and emulated. Being a mere mortal, he was subject to error and sin. Al-Kahf 18:110. Say, I am but a man like yourselves, but the inspiration has come to me that your God is one God. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hadith reports themselves carry the seeds of their own destruction, since they contradict each other's statements, facts, and the Quran. Since the Ahadith were transmitted by simple people over a long period of time, they had to be, and were, made subjective to their feelings, inclinations, prejudices, and preferences. Modern Muhammadan scholars do their very best to paint an image of Muhammad, his character, his deeds, his family, etc., which not only contradicts the historical record, but also the Ahadith themselves, such as that he was sinless in emulation of Jesus, extremely brave, a magnificent warrior, a leader of huge and pivotal battles, noble to a fault to friends and foe, merciful, knowledgeable, judicious, fair, etc., etc. In reality, the Hadiths as well as the Quran prove that he was none of the above. For example, the following items. 1. Of his 23 years as the alleged military leader, his battles lasted in total less than 1 month. Badr and Uhud were over in less than a day, each with losses that are incomparably small even in terms of warfare in that century. 2. His legendary heroism is betrayed by the fact that of more than 75 skirmishes, he was involved in between 15 to 19 of them as the commander in charge, but not actually participating in the fighting. These were in reality piratical raids to steal, kill, rob, rape and enslave unsuspecting caravans or small communities in Arabia. In this manner, Muhammad increased his wealth and authority, and was thus able to bring to his lair, through bribery and greed, more like-minded, bloodthirsty pirates of the desert. He was actually the leader of one of the first organized crime syndicates in history. He always sent others to their glorious deaths in raids, ambushes, and skirmishes with unproven promises of great rewards of unlimited sexual, sensual, and carnal pleasures in his warped vision of paradise. 3. He ordered the murder of any and all of his political, theological, or satirical opponents, the news media par excellence of Arabia, whether male or female, young or old, free or slave, without mercy or decency, since they were invariably tricked to their deaths and murdered when unarmed, such as in the cases of Abu Afaq, a 120-year-old poet, Asma bint Marwan of Medina, mother of children, Ka'ab bin al-Ashraf, Qurayza tribesmen, Khaybar settlement, etc. 4. Many of his raids were carried during the prohibited months and contrary to any and all of Arabia's rules of warfare, invariably treacherously and in underhand manner. 5. He showed his compassion in acts of extreme cruelty, as in the following examples. The Battle of Badr, when he allowed the mutilation of some of the slain Quraysh leaders. Meccan 10. Kinana of Khaybar, Muslims of Orania, apostates from Islam. 6. He treacherously broke every promise or treaty that he made with all those who conducted them with him, such as in the case of the Judaized Arabs, the Christian Arabs, and with his own Quraysh tribe at Hudaybiyah. 7. Before his alleged revelations, he was a pagan like the others of his tribe and used to offer sacrifices to Al-Uzza. In repeated verses in the Quran, Muhammad is described as only the mortal messenger of Allah whose sins Allah had forgiven. Even the Hadiths tell us that prior to his alleged night journey, Muhammad was purified from sin and unbelief. In conclusion, the percentage of true traditions as collected by the most knowledgeable followers of Muhammad prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the abysmal and astounding record that over 99% of them were falsehoods and made up to fit the agenda of a sect or a ruler. since the Ahadith are also supposed to have been divinely inspired, where in the whole of them and the Quran are the ones that are true.